Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Slam Up Wrestling. Myself Supreet, and this is the AEW Dynamite review for what's the date? I forgot again.
6th January 2021.
And it was the New Year's Bash Night One edition of Dynamite. So I'm joined by Abhishek Aneja, aka Abby Maniac. What's up, Abby?
I'm absolutely fine. This seems appropriate tonight, I suppose.
Yes, yes, it does. Yes, it does. So how's it been?
Uh, I have been fine. The last 2 weeks have been a little, I guess, uh, a little short on me personally. But right now, as of tonight and today's show, uh, that was you can say absolutely, they it put me in a great mood, so to speak.
Um, what did you think about this show?
uh, with regards to this show, I really enjoyed the show top to bottom, I guess. And the ending, it was the icing on the cake for me personally. I guess many people are not of the opinion. I saw one or two who were not very fond of the ending. With regards to it, they said it is just a NWO thing. They are doing it again and blah blah blah. But the thing is, I really enjoyed it, and the fact now it is being done on a much uh, bigger stage, so to speak. Uh, then it was only probably Japan and on the independent circuit, and now it is, in my opinion, on a bigger stage, and now it will grab more eyes, and uh, it has some potential. It has some potential. We have to wait and see how it transpires in the future. I am a huge fan of the Bullet Club and what happened. I personally saw many of the stuff. Maybe not in the initial timeline when Finn Balor was there. Prince David, I should say, Prince David was there. But I caught on when AJ Styles, joined in and he blasted Okada at New Japan. And then I also got into, Japanese wrestling for the first time. And I got to know independent circuit wrestling, Japanese wrestling, and how it is done and how it is very much different from WWE. That was the first time that I saw, and it just opened my eyes that fuck, 40-minute matches, 50-minute matches are being done in a main event scene, and it is brilliant. The presentation and everything, it just opened my eyes, so to speak. And I was watching fucking shit WWE. I'm sorry for my language for WWE, so to speak, because
You,
it,
you, you will be offending a lot of WWE stands.
yes, but the fact is that uh, I said fucking shit WWE because you get used to it. Then you see something very different and hard hitting style, and it felt real. It looked like a fight. Sports feel of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it was Wrestle Kingdom, I suppose, the first match that I saw. Probably it was AJ Styles versus Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
I think
No,
that was
it was
Dominion.
Dominion. It was Dominion. It was Dominion. Yes, it was Dominion. So the first match as I saw, and it was probably 40 minutes or 50 minutes, and it was amazing. I was, fucking amazed by that. So it was the first time, and then things passed. I saw Ring of Honor and what things happened with the Bullet Club and everything. Fuck, AJ Styles, they swooped every day also had a trios match at Chikara and Chikara Pro, and I was following them religiously. So the fact that I being happy for this angle taking place, you cannot take that away from me personally. You can have your opinion that you are not happy, that it is just a rehash, or it is not a very creative, so to speak. So you can have your opinion, but me, I am thinking of optimistically for this angle, and I want it to succeed, and I want it to be a huge success. What about you? With regards to this Bullet Club angle, we will discuss it obviously, but just you know,
Uh, for now, I will say about this show. I felt like it was not a great show, but it was a solid show. And with and this Bullet Club thing you just said about, it was a great cliffhanger to end this.
mhm, yeah.
So let's get to this card here. We had Young Bucks and SCU versus the Acclaimed and Hybrid 2. We also had John Moxley. Sorry, he was back. He was back for cutting a promo. We had Wardlow versus Jake Hager, Cody Rhodes versus Matt Sydal. Uh, Hikaru Shida defended the AEW Women's Championship against Abaddon. And in the main event, it was Kenny Omega. He defended the AEW World Championship against Ray Phoenix. But before that, if you're new to this channel, then make sure to hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell for all notifications. We here do reviews for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW Dynamite, and recently I have started doing New Japan. So make sure you do all that good stuff. Before we get into this card, we have some minor news regarding AEW. So it is being reported that they will be moving away from Daily's place and will be filming somewhere in Florida. So thoughts on this?
I guess it's just a change of venue, so I have no qualms with regards to that. It would be a change of atmosphere, and you know, uh, it would be fresh, so to speak. Their presentation would look different, and only the amphitheater look, it somewhat bores you if you are just looking at it week after week after week after week. And now a fresh look is uh, welcome with regards to myself. What
Like,
about you?
yes, like I also have the same opinion as you. Like we also saw this situation with WWE, but their mentality is different. Like they are going back to Thunderdome and stuff, वगैरह वगैरह. But yeah, I would agree that a change of venue will be something refreshing. Like it does get a little boring, no matter how great the show is. Seeing that same exact setup, it sometimes bores you out. So it will be fun to see where they film. Maybe a open air venue. I think. Have you have any news regarding that?
Not right now.
They mostly will be doing a open air venue because it's quote unquote safe. So let's see what happens. Um, let's get to this first match here. We have Young Bucks and SCU versus the Acclaimed and Hybrid 2. So Acclaimed, they did their usual diss track. It was great. What they said was they compared themselves to John Cena, but they called the Young Bucks Marty Jannetty.
They have been entertaining as fuck. I have no problems with them. They have been amazing as characters. You
Ba-
know.
Basically, they are doing your job of dissing Young Bucks. So before we get through this match, how did we get it? How did this match happen?
This match happened. Acclaimed were on a seven-match win streak on AW Dark, and then they wanted a shot at the strap. Who wouldn't? And they confronted the champions, that is the Young Bucks, in a backstage segment. TH2, that is the Hybrid 2, they joined the party with an ambush as they were in a situationship with the Young Bucks at the time for the straps, of course. SCU, that is Daniels and Kazarian, came to the save to prevent further damage for the Young Bucks. Acclaimed then beat SCU on AW Dynamite and then challenged the Young Bucks for a tag team title match. And then they had obviously 7 + 1 8 8 match win streak. So then obviously the EVPs won against the rookies. So that's what basically happened. And last week, the Acclaimed tried to spoil the tribute to Brody Lee by the Young Bucks and Colt Cabana. Boom, boom. Thanks to SCU and Bucks and Colt, it all went in smoke for the Acclaimed. That's what has happened till now.
So to this match, so the baby faces jump from the get go. We see Bucks and SU in full control. Bucks with some dives to the outside. Daniels was looking for an Arabian moonsault, but Angelico stopped him. So the heel team were working on Daniels until Kazarian comes out. So TS2, the hybrid 2 tried to isolate Kazarian, but he escapes. Hot tag to Matt Jackson, and he was taking out everybody, and from there the Bucks looked super strong. Um, so they were going for the Meltzer driver, but it was denied. Bunch of super kicks, and at the end it was Daniels and Matt. So they go for the best Meltzer ever for the win, and that was it. A okay match. So SU got their point across with the win, and I know you have something to say about the Bucks on how they were look to made to look strong. So what did you think about this match?
So, it had to be, of course, because they are the champions, of course. So they have to look strong. And the fact that SCU had this stipulation that if they lose in their next bout, they won't be, tagging anymore. I guess this aired on Being the Elite. This
No,
didn't happen.
this was I
This
think
was on
2 weeks ago on an AW Dark. You're talking about
AW.
this. You're talking about this SCU stuff, right?
Yes.
Yes, this happened on AW Dark 2 weeks ago.
Okay. I guess I also saw that on Being the Elite. Probably it also aired there also. Because who watches Dark?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Just just kidding for the AW stance, of course. Uh, I guess the fact is that now we are going to see probably the Young Bucks versus SCU, that is Kazarian and Daniels, uh, in the near future. So it is great. And what happened at the end, Young Bucks would possibly be quote unquote heels in the said bout. So we have to wait and watch. And with regards to this whole match, commentators put over TH2 big tonight. They were talking about them, Jack Evans and Helico, they, talked about them. So I was really happy with regards to it because I have, talked about them with regards to their history in Lucha Libre AAA, and they have been there and they have been there good. So the fact that now the commentators and even the All Elite Wrestling promotion are now putting their stock uh, on them on TH2. It is great, and now it is good, and now they're getting TV time, and TH2 are also getting the opportunity to show their, unique offense with regards to submissions or aerial stuff. It is great. It is great, absolutely. This match had non-stop action. The Acclaimed and TH2, the story a little bit was that they were a little short on experience, so they weren't able to, mesh as well in comparison to their opponents, that is the Bucks and SCU, who have given their dues and also have worked with and against one another for a large chunk of their career in the independent circuit, in Ring of Honor, and of course, you know. So that in the end, as you said, the best, moonsault driver ever, or best Arabian moonsault driver ever, with Matt and Daniels, was a proof of that. You know, the match was little chaotic. There wasn't any, you can say, a point where a team was in undue advantage over the other, the heels or the baby faces. Nonetheless, it was good. It was a hot, a start which the promotion needs at the start of the bout to get the crowd riling in at home or at in the crowd, of course. So it was a great start. It was a to the show.
So we had a little post-match angle here. Kazarian was happy with the win. He reminds us about the challenge he gave to Daniels. SEO then talk about challenging the Bucks for the tag team titles. So that was that. Um, Before we head to the next segment, I want to check your trivia here.
Mhm.
Are you ready?
Please.
So, do you remember Bobby Lashley's sister segment 2 years ago?
I guess yes. It involved Sami Zayn.
Yes, yes, yes. Bobby
Uh-huh.
Lashley's sisters.
Yes.
Okay. So, one of the sister was none other than Max Caster of the Acclaimed.
Really?
Really? You do one thing. After this review
Wow.
is done, go to YouTube, check out that segment. The one sister in the middle is Max Caster in mustache.
Wow.
Funny that after 2 years, both men are doing great. Bobby Lashley is in a great position in WWE. Max Caster is getting a big push in AEW.
Absolutely.
So out comes John Moxley next. So he cuts a promo. So he said he doesn't want to complain as he knows that what happened to him was just the nature of the business. But still, he has zero tolerance for shitty people. He calls Don Callis a car salesman. Um, he said if he wished to beat up Omega and Callis tonight, no, no, sorry, let me rephrase that. Sorry, he said if he wished to, he can beat up Omega and Callis tonight with a crowbar, but he doesn't want to mess up with the opportunity of Ray Phoenix. He says he will be keeping an eye on Kenny Omega. So with the looks of things, it seems that Moxley will be getting that rematch at Revolution. And what happened later on, it looks like it will be a gimmick match, maybe a barbed wire match or something.
Hmm. It looks like it. It possibly is a, you can say, a callback to their first match, which also had similar stuff, going around. Let's wait and see. It was an intense promo. It was a good promo, so to speak. And let's see now what happens. What happened at the end, it opens a whole can of worms for all of them, so to speak. So what happens right now? What happens at Hard to Kill on January 16th?
Is that this week?
Let's see.
Is this
Jan-
week or next week?
I guess it's next week. It is January 16th. Right now it's January 6th, or for us it's January 7th. So yes.
Oh, holy shit! I want to watch an AEW paper.
But it's a great card. It's a solid card. And if you will watch, or any other person will watch, I personally would watch. It has Taya Valkyrie versus Diana Perazzo for the women's championship. Two solid wrestlers fighting it out. And it has Good Brothers, Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann, and Motor City Machine Guns. It has Sammy Callahan and Eddie Edwards
Eddie Edwards.
yes, in a gimmick match. So that's also a very long storied rivalry now coming to the fray again. So it has a solid card. Possibly, if you want to watch, you should watch it. You will not be, bored. It has solid wrestlers nonetheless.
Let's see. So up next was an interview with Chuck Taylor. He gives an update on Trent, saying he will be out for months with a shoulder injury. So Miro and team jumps in. They mock Trent and offer Chuck a place in his group where he can be his young boy. Chuck denies and challenges Miro to a match next week. Miro wants to make things interesting. Says if Chuck loses, he will be his young boy till the wedding. Chuck accepts, and that was it. It's obvious Miro's not losing. So I think making Chuck a young lion until the wedding is a good role for him, I think, until Trent comes back.
Yes, I agree. And we'll see many, segments and promos with regards to the wedding and preparation with regards to it. So it is comedy, it is entertainment. So it would be, we have to wait and see and how it comes about.
We
It is
have
sports
Wardlow was,
entertainment.
another thing I didn't mention that it's obvious who's gonna be messing up the wedding. It has to be the best friends now.
Mm, yes.
Up next, we have Wardlow versus Jake Hager. Inner Circle are on the stage to support both men. I didn't like this match. The only time I the only time I cared about it was when Wardlow was in the offense. Like Jake Hager, rather than having a horse fight, he was relying more on his amateur stuff that was not good for my liking. But anyways, so final parts of the match saw here Hager and Wardlow on the top. So Hager had Wardlow in the triangle choke. Wardlow clips Hager on the turnbuckle. So at the end, Wardlow hits the F10 and gets the win. It was a right outcome as it was a quote unquote big win for Wardlow of some sorts. So what did you think about this match?
I think it was a competitive match. I did not, it wasn't very entertaining, so to speak. So nonetheless, it was a good competitive match. And with regards to their, story, it was that Wardlow was not present at some of the tapings due to family commitments. You know, we don't know if it were family commitments or was it, Cutler's big mouth on Twitter. Nonetheless, but Hager was upset about it, and Hager said that it's irresponsible and he should be concerned with his real family, that is the inner circle, of course. And Hager threw out a challenge for tonight to teach him a thing or two about family and take out their, pent up aggression towards one another, because they are always staring, you know, on one another. So there is some pent up stuff. So put it out all in the ring. So that was with regards to that. It had equal back and forth and competitive bout. MJF looked not so pleased when Wardlow was in a weak spot or eating offense from Jake Hager, and he's also a part of the inner circle. So they all are. So it shouldn't be that way, but it is that he has a soft spot, and of course he should. But nonetheless, what is, you know uh, the wheels are turning in the head of MJF, and what is he planning? We have to wait and see what are his plans. And Wardlow had the athleticism advantage with the strength and size, while Hager has the amateur wrestling background, mixed martial arts, strength, experience in the ring, of course, and size. So on paper, as Jericho said, that it looked like Jake Hager would be winning. But Wardlow showed his athletic prowess in an amazing way. That Senton Atomico was effortless, and also the counter with an arm triangle, that was also brilliant stuff from Jake Hager. And at the end, it was a rather big upset, so to speak, from Wardlow, that he pinned Jake Hager from hitting the F10.
So final parts of the match. Sorry, I'm saying final parts of the match. It was the post-match angle actually. So Inner Circle came out. They were applauding. So Hager and Wardlow finally embraced, and that was it. Moving on, we had a backstage segment involving Private Party. So they had some gin, but they didn't have the juice. So out comes Snoop Dogg with some juice. Matt Hardy was out next. He brings in Private Party's new contracts, where they will be giving away at least 30% to Matt Hardy for his services, which was actually brought up in this week's Being the Elite. Private Party signed these contracts. Hardy said, now Private Party are ready to be iconic, and also added that they will be allowed to use all third party platforms like Twitch, Cameo. I laughed. Um,
The AEW and Matt Hardy are not, you can say, selective with regards to third party deals like WWE is. You know, some are allowed, some are not, probably.
Moving on, we had the weigh-ins for Brian Cage and Darby Allin before their TNT Championship match next week. So Tony Schiavone was hosting this. He said Brian Cage will be going first. Taz didn't like this. That Schiavone was ordering everything. So Taz, sorry, not Taz. Brian Cage hops on the scale at 72 pounds. Darby was next. By the way, he has a new TNT Championship, as the previous design was handed to Brody Lee Jr. And we also didn't see the clear shot of the championship. Like Darby wasn't holding the championship or something. So he hopped on the scale. He was at 170 pounds. So Taz makes fun of his, makes fun of this 100-pound difference. Darby snatches the mic, said he hasn't. So he has dealt with people like this for 27 years. So Darby was ready for a fight. So Team Taz also wanted some of Darby, but lights go out and it's Sting. Team Taz bails. So Taz said he's sick of both men and said Cage will be taking the TNT title next week. So what they are doing here is they are trying to build intrigue with Sting interfering every time Team Taz is involved. But at the same time, we also need explanation on why someone like Team Taz, who has this FTW mentality, they don't do nothing about it and just leave. We need some explanation about it. So, what is your take on this whole segment that has been going on for the 2 3 weeks?
uh, I don't know, maybe they are, stretching it, and it is basically an intrigue of the icon Sting, basically. So they are stretching it, so to speak, that which story would he be, put in, and how his role would be getting in. Will Is he, getting involved with regards to Cody, or he is with regards to Darby Allin? What is happening? Maybe tonight we got an answer that maybe he is mentoring Darby Allin, and maybe it all has come about from the reaction of the internet, because they do not possibly want him wrestling. because what happened this past week on Monday Night Raw, internet didn't have a very favorable reaction, so to speak. Nonetheless, but the ratings showed otherwise, and that's what
For 1 week.
matters.
For 1 week.
Yes, for 1 week, but we have to wait and see because whenever Goldberg appears, if the ratings jump, so that is what networks want, that is what shareholders want. So uh, WWE or any other company for that matter won't give a flying fuck about social media trolls or social media people barking or tweeting their displeasure, so to speak, or as Triple H said, a guy named Mark tweeting about it. But things showed otherwise. There was a ratings jump. So the fact is now, how will they come about what they are thinking right now, that they should be, very different from WWE right now. They should wait with regards to Sting making his debut, his in-ring debut for AEW. So right now we should give him a, mentor role, so to speak. So maybe they are thinking that way. They made this decision probably last week or probably this week. It can come about any time. So we have to, wait and see that what transpires for this pay-per-view, which is for, February. That is Revolution, as you just, mentioned. And heels being shitty chicken heels, that happens, throughout. That has happened since ages. So them retreating and not being, confronting Sting, not going in the ring and saying that, fuck, I am so, strong. Brian Cage can fuck everything, in his side. But here you have to defy logic. You have to be, chicken heel. You are being a chicken heel. So you have to retreat. You have to go out. That is what that is happening right now. Let's wait. Let's see.
So we had MJF giving a pep talk to Jake Hager. He was trying to cheer him up and stuff. Hager appreciated that and said MJF is cool, but also told him to kindly leave. So that was that. We get a small recap of the interaction between Negative One and Marco Stunt from AEW Dark. So following this, we had an interview segment with Jurassic Express, which was interrupted by FTR. They talk trash to Marco. Marco then challenges FTR to a tag team match next week. So that is that. Um, Finally, we get to Cody versus Matt Sydal. So Cody was accompanied by Snoop Dogg, of course, promoting their new show.
Go
Speaking
Big
about
Show.
Snoop, what's the name?
The show's name is Go Big Show. That would air on TBS.
So speaking about Snoop Dogg, so my first introduction to Snoop Dogg was in 2008 when he did that music video with Akshay Kumar and Singis King.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he didn't do shit in that music video. Only thing he did was this. Those were some crazy times, man.
Mm.
So Snoop Dogg was the coach here for one night. So it was a good TV match between Cody and Seidel. At one point, we saw them. Sorry, Cody accidentally hit Serpentico in the crowd. So Finis saw Cody hitting two crossroads to get the win, and that was it. Like I said, good match, but in the grand scheme of things, it was mainly to the main focus was on Snoop Dogg. So, what
Yeah.
did you think about this stuff?
Yes, I would agree. Uh, the whole scheme of things, it was to promote the show, that is Go Big Show on TBS, and uh, the referee for this match was Paul Turner, and Snoop Dogg did a great impersonation of Arn Anderson being the coach, so to speak. Matt Seidel had a 10-3 record, and Seidel looked hungry and fresh from the get-go, as he should be, because uh, and also the Meteora from the top rope on the stage almost took out Snoop Dogg. That was also great. Seidel looked like he had something to prove, even after his illustrious career in the business. I won't blame him at all because he had a terrible but noteworthy start in AEW, slippery start, so to speak. Now he is, pulling himself up from all that crap, and now being the star and that he knows he has in himself, and he is. He looked great. This was one of his, you know, better bouts in, I don't know, possibly forever. In my opinion, he looked great. His athleticism was on full display. He also showed some signs of, when he has in the recent past, it was also evident in Impact Wrestling. He had changed his style to a more ground based, mat based submission style, not very much, relying on aerial maneuvers. It also was very much on display in this match. And Seidel has the submissions and athleticism with the experience, and Cody has the amateur wrestling background, the bloodline, and the experience for that matter. It was a competitive match, you know. Maybe in the grand scheme of things, as you said, that it was not, it didn't have possibly a great story behind it, or maybe a payoff, an end game. But nonetheless, it was a great TV match, as you just said. Competitive, hard-hitting match. Saddle looked great. Cody won via pinfall after hitting two crossroads.
So, so post match we had Serpentico and Luther attacking Cody, but Seidel comes for the save. Luther is taken out while Serpentico is grounded. So Seidel thought about doing the shooting star, but out comes Snoop Dogg. He comes in and he hits a awkward splash, but the good thing is he didn't die here. So that was that.
And Sasha Banks, she, tweeted out, I guess, that we have to work on that.
Why not? Why not?
They should. They should. It looked like a splash, but he landed the knees. He, made sure that it's safe. But, you know, full points to Snoop Dogg for being safe, nonetheless.
I
Possibly
was
good
praying.
promotion for their show.
I was praying. Please don't fuck this up. Please don't fuck this up. At least he hit some splash, some sort.
Yes, yes.
So we get to this AEW Women's Championship match: Hikaru Shida versus your favorite Abaddon. So Abaddon attacks Shida on the entranceway. Shida knocks out Abaddon with a Singapore cane, not a kendo stick.
Yes, absolutely.
I did my full homework here. So she used the Singapore cane, but Abaddon still got up as the match began. At one point, Abaddon dragged Shida underneath the ring just to bite her neck.
Weird fetishes we have.
So, so Abaddon was no selling for majority of this match. At the end, Shida had the Tamashi for the win, and that was it. So, like I have said in the past, Abaddon is a great character, but just like our beloved Fiend, we can't expect a good match from someone like Abaddon or even a Fiend unless you have someone who is great and carrying a match. For example, Daniel Bryan or something. Hikaru Shida did her best, and that was it. So, what did you think about this match?
Uh, she is my favorite, as you said. Even when I have only seen her in two matches. But nonetheless, the character is what would sell, you know, selling tickets, getting the fans invested in the story, or in, getting the fans in the crowd, getting in the gate, watching their match, or, getting invested in your product. That is what, transcends to the mainstream, of course. So for that, and with regards to this match, that happened, whatever happened, she had Abaddon had, majority of the offense. You know, Uh, it was enjoyable. It was entertaining, nonetheless. And in my opinion, I was thoroughly entertained. And I was thinking possibly it could have a title change. Of course, in my opinion, it could have happened, but it didn't happen. I was not, sad, but nonetheless, I really enjoyed the match personally. And as you just said, Singapore cane shot to the head at the start and of the proceedings on Abaddon, but she sits up like the Undertaker, as the Marks would say. A great wordplay by Chris Jericho at the start, using the words undead for for Abaddon, as the word undead is used for the undead bride Su Young at Impact Wrestling, who has now this past week transformed into the HR Karen Susan. So that's also, great. And we cannot let Abaddon bite people. We do not know if she had her shots. JR said this. I was rolling back. I was rolling. That's great. Those things are great to sell the character and to put that over. Great.
Oh God.
Commentators put over the lifestyle of Abaddon. They said that she lives in the character. There is no difference between the character and the human, if she is a human, you know. And there isn't any separation or differentiation between the character or the real human. And the unique offense of Abaddon was on full display. And Jericho, the conspiracy theorist, liked it quite a lot when JR, or I guess Tony Schiavone, referred to Abaddon as an entity or an otherworldly entity. We were going full Dolores Cannon on this shit. Abaddon bit Hikaru Shida on the neck when she dragged her in the ring skirts. By God, that looked gruesome when she, came out and blood was like this. It looked gruesome as fuck. It was brilliant. Competitive bout, toughest match for Hikaru Shida yet. Commentators were saying that way. Possibly it was that way. And I want this match to happen again.
What?
That's just my take. Possibly, you know, many people would, not be in that opinion, but I really enjoyed and I was thoroughly entertained. So I would want another shot, another match of this. Maybe, maybe, in the near future, or maybe sometime in the foreseeable future. And amazing work nonetheless. And I have just said Abaddon was controlling the majority of the action, as she should, because her character demands that she should. And she, as you just said, that she was no selling. That is her character, of course. Marks should not, rile up and say that she is a fucking nobody, and why the fuck Hikaru Shida is, no selling or just giving her that platform to, perform for the AEW Women's Championship. No, her character is that. Her character is so compelling that brings people in. That is what, is the thing. But the
But
Tamashi, why Shida put the exclamation point on this hard fought bout.
but
Yes, you were
over,
saying.
but overall, this Abaddon needs some work. Like the overall package needs some work.
Are you one of those fat shamers on the internet?
No, 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 no. I am not. I am not. I'm not one of those guys. I'm definitely not one of those guys. See,
I'm just kidding. I was just, pinching you. No, I know, I know.
no, the character work still needs some, tweaks here and there.
Hmm.
But I appreciate that they are putting so much effort into her AEW
Hmm.
especially. But
Hmm.
let's see where it goes from here.
Yes.
Um, so commentators run through next week's card. One of those matches will be Serena Deeb defending the NWA Women's Championship against Ty Conti. So Ty Conti with a little promo, she talks about her background in Jiu-Jitsu and Judo, and said the Dark Order will be accompanying her. So that's that.
I am not very much happy with regards to this match. You know why? Because
Why?
there is a huge chance that there could be a title change because of the, you know, untimely passing of Brody Lee and what happened last week. So
No,
there's a huge possibility that
no,
there
I.
might be a title change. But I
It's
am a
un.
huge fan of, Serena Deeb and how she is a great worker and stuff like that. So that's why, nonetheless,
No,
not anything to, you know, disrespect the legacy and the work of Brody Lee. No, and the grief of his friends and his family. No, no, no. But with regards to Serena Deeb, her work and the sweat and tears and the dues she has paid, only that. And there's a huge chance that it might not happen, but there's a huge chance that it will. That is what builds intrigue for this match.
I I don't think it's gonna be happening. Like I get it, Ty Conti is showing progress, but she is not there on that level of being a champion, any champion, whether it be NWA or AEW.
I
So
I, I would agree, but you know the things in the past and what has happened in the world of professional wrestling or sports entertainment, things have happened, you know, and
let's see where
there
it
could
goes.
be a title change. You
Let
it is just, a thing that is just in a big possibility with the thing that happened. Just, you know, but the thing
we'll
that
have to
you said,
find it out next week.
yes, absolutely. Next week,
So
New Year's match night 2.
let's quickly get into this main event for the AEW World Championship. Kenny Omega versus Ray Phoenix. So Pac cut a pre-match promo for Phoenix saying Phoenix will be taking the AEW World title tonight. So AEW's mentality was most of their audience saw Wrestle Kingdom this week, okay, which was the main course. So they decided why not give these fans a little dessert with this match because
Mm.
it was that great. Like Phoenix may not be a good storyteller wrestler, but the guy is phenomenal athletic wise, and it was that type of match. So what happened was Omega was trying to work on the back of Phoenix. The best parts of this match was Omega hitting a V trigger and Phoenix instantly responding with a super kick or some sort. At one point, Phoenix German superplexed Omega on his neck. Why not? Phoenix followed that up with so we had an apron spot here after that German suplex. So Phoenix had a diving foot stomp on Omega's neck. So Omega at one point caught Phoenix midair to hit a Tiger Driver. This came at the ending of the match. So final part of the match saw Omega with a V trigger, a bunch of V triggers, and the one winged angel for the win, and that was it. I will not be shocked if this match ends up on the list of the match of the year for 2021.
Same, I would agree. This was, I was thoroughly entertained. Fuck, that was amazing match. That was an amazing match. Nonetheless, you saw Wrestle Kingdom. I am not a very much hardcore fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So, but I saw clips here and there, and I read the reviews of my acquaintances online and my friends. So I could understand that this was a little bit of, as you said, dessert, so to speak. So fucking brilliant. I enjoyed it wholeheartedly. This, you know, fucking amazing. So first of all, there was a promo by Don Callis on Road to New Year Smash Night 1, which was online. So he said that Kenny trained with him and his uncle in the snow in Winnipeg, and he has scratched, clawed his way to the top. Meanwhile, Phoenix was pampered ever since he started in the business, and he was protected and coddled by the likes of Conan and his brother Pentagon Phoenix. So, and Phoenix was in Impact Wrestling too. So there also he was, under the umbrella of Conan. And Don Callis knew, Don Callis knows what talent Ray Phoenix possesses. So he had, trained and mentored Kenny Omega for all the, stuff you can possibly be for the sake of storyline purposes. So Phoenix took nasty bumps on the outside at the start of the bout. Omega targeted Phoenix's back, as you said, and his knees, one of his knees, I guess it was the right knee at the start, but no comments on the selling of the knee, but the selling of the back, full marks to it. Omega looked tougher, meaner, and nastier in the ring tonight. Of course, there's a change of character, there's a change in the attitude, which is great. That moonsault German suplex by Ray Phoenix, fuck, amazing, amazing. Phoenix started then targeting his neck, of course, and everyone showed that German suplex, it hits here. Then, as you said, that diving foot stomp that also hit the neck. Following that, that was amazing. Hard hitting body shots, chops, palm strikes, all over the body, the flesh, one another. They were fighting it out. They were out for blood, so to speak. It looked uncomfortable many at times, but it was amazing at the same time. We love pro wrestling, and this is what we see and what you all possibly saw at Wrestle Kingdom. This is what we love. This is what we, possibly it is an addiction or it is what we love. This is professional wrestling. Then at the end, it was a Tiger Driver 98. I do not know how they, remember for me as a commentator, or possibly how they have numbered it. Uh, Possibly, a meeting with Excalibur would, you know, open that can of worms. V triggers and a one-winged angel ended this fantastic bout. That was it.
Let's get this
And
post match angle.
yes,
So post match, Don Callis cuts a promo and tells us why Pac and Penta are not here. So it was shown on the screen that Eddie Kingston and his family attacked them backstage. So Callis ordered Omega to end Phoenix's career with another one-winged angel, but out comes John Moxley for the save. So he had a barbed wire bat with him and swings at Omega as Callis escaped. Before Moxley could do any more damage, out comes the Impact Tag Team champions, the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson. So they attack Moxley, give him the Magic Killer, and Omega then takes the barbed wire bat and attacks Moxley until the ringside wrestlers came out to save, but they get dumped as well. They then continued their assault on Moxley until the Bucks come out to calm the situation. What happened was the Bucks super kicked someone. I think it was either Griff Garrison or Brian Pillman Jr.
yes,
So
both of them. Yes.
Omega then throws up the two sweet, and even at the end, even the Bucks join in as the show goes off the air. So even finally, in AEW we have a version of Bullet Club, and I assume this was the exact angle they were thinking of in the debut episode of Dynamite, if I'm not wrong.
Hmm. Yes, yes, yes.
So they finally got to do that on the new year, and I assume the people, the actual people who are in Bullet Club are mad about this thing happened. So, anything you have to say? You said everything about this in the beginning. Any few words you want to add?
Mm, yes, the thing is that from the last, 3 weeks or so, I've been getting, YouTube recommendations YouTube has an algorithm, of course, with regards to Bullet Club videos. I am getting it, of course. Is it a spiritual thing or it is a universe thing, whatever. I have been getting that, and I was when AW also was about to start, or maybe even a few days or months prior to it, I was thinking that if the Bullet Club or the Elite, or if it happens on a bigger stage, maybe this thought came about in my mind when they were on the independent circuit and Wrestle Kingdom, that when they should get a bigger audience. That was in my mind, that they should get a bigger audience, that they should you know get more eyes, because what is happening here in Wrestle Kingdom, sorry, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and on the independent circuit, if it gets bigger eyes, that is the mainstream, that is, of course, in India, you have to get on the networks, of course, in India and other places too. If it gets their eyes, then it could be, even bigger than it possibly was, of
I
course.
doubt that. I doubt that because that was peak. Bullet Club in before 2018 was peak.
Hmm. But I wanted them to get bigger eyes. That is what I wanted to say. A larger set of eyes on them because they were doing so good. That is what my mindset was, because they were so good. I was watching them. One of my friends was watching them. My co-commentator at Wrestle Square was watching with me. So I personally wanted them to get bigger eyes, because yes, of course, they are doing great. Why not? So now possibly there is some thing that possibly it wasn't meant to be then. Possibly it is meant to be now. That is what it is. Now the only exception is that then it was AJ Styles, who is one of the most popular wrestlers in the world and gifted in the ring as well. But now it has Kenny Omega at the helm. Yes, he is not possibly as popular as AJ Styles, but you know it is for the future and how it grows. Then AEW is now, it it will grow this entity, whatever, they will name them, and now they will grow in AEW Impact Wrestling, how they will come about and how they will grow it. We have to wait and see. And possibly New Japan would partner with them or not. We have to wait and see, of course, whatever happens. Now, there is news with regards to AEW in India that possibly they would be airing on Eurosports. Possibly there have been talks.
Eurosports.
Yes,
Eurosports.
Eurosport. Eurosport, because it was the same channel where in the past it was D Sports, Discovery Sports, where Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Wrestle Square's show When Dangal Ke Surma aired, and even World of Sports, that the show also aired. So now it has been taken over by Eurosport, which is an international company. So New Japan Pro Wrestling's weekly show has been confirmed by Eurosport. It will start possibly in the coming weeks. It has been
What
confirmed.
what will be the airing now?
We have to wait and see, because I am not, owning a TV set right now, so I do not know. And I saw the said commercial on LinkedIn from one of the executives of Eurosport or Discovery Sport, now who is in charge in India. So now we have to wait and see what their content might be with regards to New Japan Pro Wrestling. So if and also they are airing Impact Plus pay-per-views. Impact Plus pay-per-views, oh sorry, I pay-per-views, I should say I pay-per-views are airing on Eurosport, and Impact Wrestling TV airs on Sony 10 2 here in India. I'm talking about India. So now AW cannot go for Sony 10 2, Sony 10 1, possibly because it is all WWE, and WWE has had huge stake, is having huge stake there. So they would possibly get precedence. And Star Sports 1, it has enough programming with regards to
But it
cricket
but
and stuff like.
but it doesn't have pro wrestling.
It doesn't have pro wrestling, and I possibly think that they are owning a stake of this Sony 10 1 or Sony 10 2, possibly. I'm not sure, but possibly they are Sony
All
10
right.
1 and Sony 10 2. But you know, you have to check up on that. So if they are on the, under the same ownership, so why the fuck, they would deal with AEW?
No,
So
Star Sports and Sony Sports are different entities. I
they
can
are
say.
different entities, I would agree. But Star has, o- did, bought only Sony 10 1 and Sony 10 2, because they are in a, they are sports, programming experts, so to speak. So possibly they, bought that chunk to, further their sports programming, umbrella. So I'm not so sure, but I saw the news years ago. There was a press release, so to speak. So, nonetheless, if they are under the same ownership, so AEW cannot go possibly there too. So, the only sports channel next in line is Eurosports right now, and it is a growing, network, and it is, you can say, cheaper, so to speak. Here, for people, it only costs $4, and with regards to other networks, so there have just been talks, not confirmed, just saying. So, and right now you can see AEW pay-per-views or television on Fight here in India, of course, under the AEW Plus feature of them. So that's there. And with regards to this Elite or Bullet Club or whatever they have in store, I'm very much optimistic because I have been a fan. So I'm looking forward to it.
I think they will be going by the name Bizklis. Of what I have seen from Impact Wrestling, they will be going from the with the name Bizklis. If they are allowed to use the Bullet Club name, that's fine. But I think that will happen if there is something going on with AEW and New Japan and Impact.
Mm.
So that's that.
They would not be using Bullet Club. They would be using something new, possibly Super Elite Club. I do not know right now. Bizclays has been from years. The Bizclays has been from years. We have to wait and see.
Man, Bullet Club is all over the place this week.
No, no,
We
agree.
have this situation with Jay White. Now he's gone into depression,
Mm.
and people are talking about him showing up at the Rumble, which is unlikely. But anyways, so yeah, anything you want to say?
I think possibly someone said that it is a work and he is still under contract. Nonetheless, we have to wait and see. He's a great talent. Sometime he said that he won't be joining WWE because his style and his character won't mesh with the WWE style or WWE programming, whatever. But nonetheless, you know, when money changes everything. But if it
But
happens, you have to wait and see. But it is highly unlikely, as you said.
only thing I have to say is that hope he stays because this week he proved to be on that Kenny Omega level. So hope he stays there for at least the next year or 2 years in New Japan. So
Mm.
back to Dynamite. So that's it with this quote unquote Bullet Club reunion thing in AEW. We'll have to wait and see what will the follow up will be next week on night 2 for New Year's Smash. So before we leave, where can these guys find you, Abby?
Guys, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at AbbyManiac, ABBYMANIAC. And I am currently working with an independent wrestling promotion here in India called Wrestle Square. I'm working with them as a commentator and as an on-air talent, as a on-air general manager, which is on the line on Saturday. I don't know. It is future is bleak, so we have to wait and see with regards to it. You can subscribe to Wrestle Square at Wrestle Square. That's it.
You can find Slam Up Wrestling on Twitter at Slam Up W, Instagram at Slam Up Wrestling. Uh, if you don't want the video version of this review for Dynamite, then you can catch Slam Up Wrestling on Anchor and Spotify as well. So this was the AEW Dynamite review, and we'll see you guys next time.